this animation, we're going to be animating our little bow and arrow here, firing the arrow. And it's a great project to infuse and to apply our understanding of the principle of anticipation and the principle of exaggeration. Both of those ideas can be layered into these drawings to make this simple little movement larger than life. Let's get started by looking at how we can enhance our editing system when working with the drawing that I've provided you. Now, working with these strokes inside of Blender can be a lot of fun, and here are some great little tips and tricks to make editing and working with these strokes just a little bit better and a whole lot faster. Let me jump in so you can see here just a cool little bow and arrow scene project that I've provided to you. You're more than welcome to use this project file, or if you want to draw your own bow and arrow, that's cool too. I think that's a lot of fun. Either way, you're going to be working and editing with these strokes. Let's experiment and explore how we can make this process go a lot faster. And we're going to incorporate some keyboard shortcuts and some new handle types for our stroke editing tool set. So I'm just in object mode here. However, if I select my object and then run into the draw mode for my object. Now, there we go. I didn't have it selected in the outliner. I think I selected something in the background on accident. But now with that object selected, I can run into edit mode, and I can very easily see all the strokes, these little gray lines that represent the totality of this little drawing. Now, I want to work with the bow here, okay? And I recognize pretty straightforward that it's maybe a little difficult for you to see the little gray outline. There we go. I'm going to zoom in real fast here. And now we can definitely see the outline of the stroke on top of the object itself. Now, when we're working with these strokes, oftentimes it turns into a little bit of a problem when trying to make real crisp, sharp angles like this, okay? The stroke editing system does a great job of producing these wonderful Bezier handles, but we want to be able to control them a little bit more directly. Let me show you specifically what I'm talking about. I'm in my stroke selection set. If I enable my curve editing, it's going to reproject the curve. So it's taking all the dots that create that stroke and it's reprojecting that. It's recreating the curve based on some new parameters. And specifically, it's reprojecting it with this information in here. We can increase the quality. We can increase the simplification of the curve. So experiment around with it. Let me hit undo real fast. If you'd like, definitely make some adjustments to the curve resolution, threshold, and angle before you reproject the curve. That way those settings are applied to the curve when you reproject it. Okay, I'm just going to roll with the defaults. Let's turn it on. Here's the great keyboard shortcut, by the way, and one that you're going to be doing all the time. To enable and disable curve editing on a stroke, it's going to be the U key, U as in uniform, on the keyboard. You don't have to do it, but it's a way to very quickly go in and out of the system without having to leave the area of interest and just utilizing a keyboard shortcut. I try to keep my mouse, my pen, right where I'm drawing at all times. It makes me really efficient. It makes the process of animating go a lot faster. So using these keyboard shortcuts is a handy dandy way of just kind of speeding up and keeping it pretty efficient. Let's go back in. I hit the U key to enable curve editing mode. And now I can go in and start making adjustments to this curve itself. I can see right off the bat, and I'm going to zoom in, make these points real big. I can see right here there's a control point. And right down there is a control point. Well, I just want to have one. If I go into my point selection system, which is this first icon in our row of selection states, keyboard shortcut 1, by the way. Now I can go in and select just that one control point. I want to dissolve it to get rid of it. And now my guy kind of goes a little wonky. So I hit undo, because I think maybe the first step is to move this bottom one into that corner. When you're dealing with sharp corners and trying to make a transition, a quick transition between two different surfaces, or excuse me, two different curves, you want to define the location of the transition with the corner point itself. Now, the problem that we're running into are these tangent handles, right? These tangent handles are turning into big problems. We're going to resolve that here in a second. But with that point, that area inside the drawing that's going to represent the corner defined with a point, I'm free to dissolve this other one. And now I'm just working with the tangent handles. And the problem that we're running into right now is entirely revolving around the angle of all of those tangent handles. So let's fix it real fast. And this is where the second new bit comes in when editing and working with all of the stroke points in the curve editing mode. As we've explored before, all of our curve points get broken down into a central dot here in the center, which defines the location of the point. And then we have these two handles. And at either end of these two handles, we have a dot that we can grab, and then we can rotate just using the grab tool, the G key on the keyboard. FYI, you're also more than welcome to hit the R key on your keyboard, R for rotate, to rotate that tangent handle around its central point. In this particular situation, I want the angle of this handle to be radically different than the angle of this handle. In every sense, the incoming slope needs to be different than the outgoing slope. I want this part down here to be a perfectly straight line to create the handle of my bow and arrow. So let's go ahead and do it. The first thing that we need to do to change the tangent kind of weights, if you will, the slope weights, of our tangent handles, is to select the point that we want to adjust. And then, here's the shortcut, we hit the V key, V as in Victor, and that's going to bring open a little pop-up. This pop-up is going to give you 4 different choices on how to change your handle type. There's free, automatic, vector, and aligned. Whenever we create a new stroke and we initially edit that stroke with the curve editing system, we're going to get the automatic handle type applied to all of our curve points. Well, watch what happens when we go to free. Now, visually, it doesn't look like anything has changed. The angle of our tangent handles have remained the same, but their function and their ability has changed underneath the surface. Note that I've selected the tangent handle way over here on the right. I've selected it with the box selection tool, and now with the grab tool, I've broken their dependency on the handle itself. And I'm free to continue to edit and work with this curve on both sides of the slope, the incoming slope and the outgoing slope. And now I can do something like that. I can also grab that bottom guy and continue to make it a straight line. Let's do it one more time. Let's do it again down here at the bottom. I think there should be a curve handle right there. And I've gone ahead and selected it, hitting the V key. V is in Victor. We'll get the little the handle type pullover. And this time, I'm going to change it to Vector. And Vector does a really interesting job. And I like Vector in certain situations because if you look carefully here, what it's trying to do is it's trying to take initially it takes the handle type and it points that handle at the previous curve point inside the stroke itself. Now this is just an initial kind of a alignment. We're free to go in and change it after the fact as well. If we were to, let's do it on this one. I got another curve point here selected. Hit the V key to bring up the system. Let's do Vector. And then I'm going to put it back to automatic. Automatic is going to be the default behavior. Now you can see that both sides of the handles are linked to one another, just like the behavior that we had before. And I'll let you experiment with the final type. But we can easily go in and change the handle type for all of our curve points in the stroke editing and curve editing system. So this is a great way for us to go in and create complex shapes with the curves inside of Blender. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you experiment and explore this handle type pull-out menu under the V key on your keyboard. It's definitely going to help and give you more control over all the strokes and the curves that you create right here in Blender.